I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Jelpy and Ghosty.
And Chip. The big homie show.
Well, it's just that he's... Oh.
Limbonic art.
Yep.
Hey,
wait a minute.
What?
That looked really terrible. That looks better.
Really?
Mm-hmm. We were like really yellow.
There's nothing wrong with that, you racist. Limbonic art. Yep. The Yawning Abyss of Madness.
I know. I really like the sound of that title.
So wait a second. This isn't a $75. This looks like a Lions pick. It says Sin and Glory.
Well, I don't know if Daniel picked it for them. Like, remember the other guy paid for 75 but said it was for.
Okay.
So I think that's what's going on here.
Okay. Okay, so if you want a song review, there are multiple ways of doing it there, listener. There's just a regular ask, and then there's also the Patreon alliances, and then there's also the $75 tier. So what we're doing right now is we're making sure that we do right by our $75 people, and then we're going to do more recording blitzes to take care of our Patreon picks so that... inshallah, by the end of the month, we'll all be caught up, good to go into the new year.
That's the plan.
So, this is Limbonic art, the Yawning Abyss of Madness. I'm actually what type of metal do you think this is going to be?
Well, I accidentally hit play for a split second at the beginning, and it kind of sounded like Black Death.
Yes, tremolo, tremolo! Yeah, probably. I have remembered... so many times people asking for this band, so I'm actually really interested.
Oh, okay.
Really interested to hear it. It's an 11-minute song, but I'm very interested to hear it. For timely topical political commentary, or if you are bored with your life and you want to be angry at me, probably the greatest compliment I've ever received on the channel is you are simultaneously the best and most frustrating person.
Did they say
infuriating person on the internet there, Vin, by my buddy Adar. So shout out to the big homie. Much love to you. I love the guy. He's one of my favorite human beings. I love it.
You know who we haven't heard from in a while? That guy that had a lot of yellow on his little picture. And remember, he hated you. It was from the beginning of the channel. You remember who I'm talking about?
There's so many. There's so many frenemies.
But he was like real nice.
He was nice to you.
He always would make nice comments to me, but then he would always like go after you. Remember?
He hated my guts.
Do you remember?
I vaguely remember.
I just remember there being like a lot of yellow on his picture.
Yeah, yeah, and then of course there's Lilo. Lilo, where you been? I think it's Ben. Ben got tired of impersonating Lilo.
I know. Like, this is too exhausting.
The Yawning Abyss of Madness, Limbonic art. Let's go. Agnoctum, Dynasty of Death.
Go!
Circle
with so much depth.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna agree with this, but I really, some songs it's like I could have been 45 seconds shorter. Mm-hmm. I don't feel this way with this song. First of all, it's like a 6-track record. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those ones where it's like it's really trying to be immersive and all. Well, it's funny too because it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and then 9.
Yeah.
And then In Embers of Infernal Greed is not even numbered. So weird stuff with the record, but oh yeah, there's no 5 either. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9. So
so you didn't feel like it was too long. You thought it was a great length.
No, I they were trying to go somewhere. They were trying to, and I kind of got. It was weird because I was focusing extra heavy on the lyrics.
Yep.
Because sonically, it was like I was feeling it a lot, like sonically, and I was like, shit, I don't know what this guy's saying. So I kept going back and forth between that. And I had a theory about the song for the first half, and then I saw the bottom third of the song, and then I completely flipped my theory onto what the song was about. So there's also that.
Okay.
What was your take on it?
I actually didn't feel like it was too long. It was a long song, but I was surprised at this. You would call this death metal or black
metal? They're officially titled a symphonic black metal band.
Okay. Well, when I'm listening to it, I'm like, it kind of kept trying to take me on a little journey on a couple points, and I was like, wait, but that's not this type of music. But they had some interesting little things that they threw in there that went along with it.
Yes.
He had that one little scream at the beginning that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, okay, all right.
At the 4:30 mark, there was it was heavy. It was very, very heavy, but it was like a heavy that I haven't really heard before. It was a very, very interesting. Actually, I want to...
Gent?
No, it wasn't gent.
No, I'm just kidding. I just feel like that people throw that word in anywhere that they just don't know.
Yeah. Is it unplugged? Did we unplug,
here.
the... Did we just buy something from Apple, or did
I mean,
the
I know.
kids... Where was that part? Yeah. So that it was kind of like it was like epic, like
oh yeah, no, I agree with you.
Like a movie soundtrack, but it was like they stayed committed to it, and it after a while, like your brain starts to kind of like this is one of the sometimes I'll watch a music video or like a live show or something, and like people be headbanging like crazy, and I'm like, yo, why are you headbanging that hard? It doesn't sound that heavy. But if you listen to something a lot and your mind knows what's about to happen, and you're just it can be heavy, but
actually that's true. Yeah,
it doesn't always have to be to be heavy, So I really appreciated that little section. Like I was like, oh, okay, this is the conflict, because there's so many things going on sonically that I would be like, oh shit, but lyrically, like I would miss it, and I'm like, yo, this guy's saying a lot lyrically here. So even with the name of the band, like I tried to find the term Limbonic, and it's not there, and they basically made it up, and then I'm like, okay. But if you look at the limbo, right? Limbo is, so you have heaven, hell, and purgatory in Catholicism. So heaven is where the saints go and all that. Hell is where if you die with a mortal sin on your account, you go to hell. And then purgatory is where you die with venial sins on your account. Limbo is a place where basically unbaptized babies go. So it's like literally, it's not heaven, it's not hell, and you're just there forever. And it sucks, right? Yeah. And so I think JP2 basically freed all the babies.
Is that... Oh, really?
Yeah, he freed all the babies in limbo and sent them to heaven or something like that. Yeah, shout out to the big homie guy.
Okay.
We're Protestants. We don't believe in that. Like, we believe you either go to heaven or you go to another place in the universe where God is not, which we would call hell. But limbo is kind of that. So, like, limbonic art would be kind of like if you were in limbo and you had a guitar and drums or something, this is what would come out, basically.
Really?
That's how I am interpreting the name of their band.
Okay.
Like, if all those unbaptized babies in limbo formed a band, this is the art that you would hear. Right? So that's how I'm interpreting this band.
When I look at Limbonic, I see bionic. So I had like this idea of like...
Right. So like I Googled the term Limbonic and this band came up for all the things, which means they basically made up the word. But I think I get it. It's like art from limbo, which is really, really interesting. What did you think the song was about?
I kept thinking that it was like somebody that was gonna go to a hospital because they were like insane or they needed some help, and that it was the point right before that. But I really don't know what it's about. Like, that was...
Well, because of the title of the song, what made you think they were going to the hospital?
There was the title of the song, but then there was also... Well, when he was talking about drifting the halls, but on the very edge of sanity, in mental...
Cryogenic
interludes. Cryogenic, isn't that like...
That's where they freeze you and you come in.
That was in the show last night. Yeah.
What did you think of that show? Is that something you want to keep watching, or... Well, I feel like it's taking too long for it to take off.
It definitely is taking too long to take off, but I just couldn't get over how horrible the children were. So I was like watching it, and like there's some like gross things in it. Like, you were asleep, and I was like, oh God.
Bless God. Good, I don't want to see it. Okay, back to our regular scheduled program. Yeah. Okay. So I thought initially the guy had killed himself, and he went to the Dante's Seventh Circle. Which,
oh my gosh, yeah.
In the Seventh Circle, one of the
no, I thought that this was all mental. Like, he slipped into this mentally, and this was before going for help.
Yeah, I took it literally because one of the occupants of the Seventh Circle are suicides. So in Dante's Inferno, one of the things it's for the violent.
Yep.
So you have, like, the outer ring is like thugs and just regular street dudes. And then there's another circle, and that inner circle within the Seventh Circle is where suicides go. And so he specifically mentioned...
Is it worse in the middle or worse in the outside?
Yeah, it's the worst as much as you go. It's like the deeper you go...
So killing somebody else, killing yourself is worse than killing somebody else in this theory?
Well, I think there's a lot of utility there. I think if you tell somebody, look, you'll go to hell if you kill yourself, then it reduces the chances. If you can get a person to believe that, it reduces the chances that they'll do that.
Oh, no. I get that. But I would think that the person that killed somebody else would be worse than the person who killed themselves.
No, not in Dante. I mean, look.
Because if you kill yourself, you've obviously sinned against yourself and God.
Right.
But like, if you killed somebody else...
You sinned against a person and God. I mean, they could be equivalent, but I think there's sociological utility in that, because I actually think I've run into killers, like people who are absolute killers. But I've actually run into more people. People are more likely to kill themselves than to kill another person, in my opinion. My experience. And so that's if you were trying to construct, right?
Okay.
I mean, shoot. The Seventh Circle is not for murderers and killers. The Ninth Circle, the worst circle of hell, is not for murderers and killers. It's for traitors. Traitors end up in the Ninth Circle, which, of course, Judas, right? So you have to make him the worst, whatever. Now, as far as the question about what the Bible says about people who kill themselves, the Bible does not explicitly say people who kill themselves go to hell. It doesn't say that. It also doesn't say they explicitly go to heaven. And I never answer that question on camera in front of thousands of people for obvious reasons. If you had a question about that, you can message me personally, and I will give you my thoughts, but I'm not going to say either way on a public forum. I just think that that's irresponsible. But I'm just saying, Seventh Circle, so that's why I was like, oh, okay. He slipped in the Seventh Circle of hell because he was in his black castle of solitude, etc. But one of the... I forgot who it was, who I read, but they basically said, like, one of the harbingers of insanity is isolation, like when you're completely alone. And it's because it's so wired into us that we are communal beings.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, okay, this guy's in his black castle of solitude, which is interesting because this guy is, I'm not going to say he's rich, but he's a musician and apparently a marginally successful one. So I just thought it was really interesting. He said black castle, not black shack or black prison, or it's a black castle, which goes to the whole ideology of just because you have a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happy.
Right.
I was talking
that's
to
true. Where does it say the black castle?
It's in the first verse.
Oh,
right there. I was talking to Zoe about success and how do you define success or whatever, and I was talking to him about Kurt Cobain. I was talking about that documentary we watched about him where he made it big, made millions, bought this mansion in Seattle, and then he kept like sleeping and such in his office. I mean, in his closet. And then when he was really, ate up, he would go to these seedy hotels in Seattle for days on end. People didn't know where it was. Like, you have all this money, you have this giant house. Like, what are you doing in a closet or in? So that doesn't do it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Like, you're a success, your mind doesn't do it. Like, you're okay, great. You've got a castle, but it's a black castle and you're by yourself. Whoop-de-doo. You know what I mean?
Again, see, I feel like this entire thing is he's talking mentally. Again, I drift the halls of wandering, the black castle of solitude on the very edge of sanity. So I feel like in his own mind, he has everything's in him. And so the solitude that he finds in himself, it's his place. Like, I used to, call my room my haven, my safe haven, my cavern, you know what I mean? Like, it was like my spot where I could just get away from, the rules and the this and the that. It was like I just go to my spot. So like I feel like mentally he has this spot, and that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, the reason I took it initially as that was because he talks about going into the seventh circle,
so
and then
because
he talks
of that,
about,
you made it all physical.
Then he talks about death and da 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 da. However, I'll tell you the line of the week is this one right here. Darkness is the only survivor. That's a smart line. That's some smart writing. This guy can write his ass off, that's for sure. But here's where I changed my mind. When he said, behind the sealed door to imagination, I sense the voices of devastation. Dementia praecox. And then I said, okay, that's
dementia is when the person is all confused and stuff.
Yeah, but dementia praecox.
Dementia praecox?
Dementia praecox was a term that was found. See, there's your ninth circle of hell. Treachery. Treachery. It was a term that was used to describe schizophrenia, like early onset schizophrenia. So, like, praecox basically means early, and of course dementia. And so they didn't know what they were dealing with. So it was. So, and then above it says, I sense the voice of devastation. Then he says dementia praecox, right? So then I said, oh, and then he talks about a cascade of dark emotions imprisoning, yada, 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 yada. And then he talked about my eyes are filled with so much death, right? As I cross the bridge to that darkness, my eyes are filled with so much death. So he's alive. So... then I said, okay, so then everything else up here that's talking about death and the seventh circle is a metaphorical for what's happening in his head.
Oh, so you did end up with the same.
Right. So I initially started that way. Then as I saw the lyrics, I was like, oh, wait a second, no. And this guy is... When
he said, my eyes are filled with so much death, how did you take that?
Well, Jesus talking about the eyes and window of the soul, and he says if the... I think in Luke it says, if... the eyes are the window to the soul, and if the light in your eyes are darkness, then how great is that darkness? Which is pretty crazy. And there you go.
Well, in that, I always thought that what you let your eyes look at enters your soul.
Yeah, I never looked at it. I looked at it the other way.
This is literally the first time I flipped it.
Yeah, I always looked at it the other way. It's like your eyes are the window into what's going on inside of you. And if what is inside of you is dark,
which is almost the same
then
as...
it's the ultimate darkness. Because your whole world can be dark, but if your eyes are bright, that means that in spite of the fact that things that are around you are dark, you still have a light within you that's unconquerable. And I think what Jesus is saying is the power of the soul and the spirit is basically at the human level unconquerable. So if at the deepest parts of you, you're projecting darkness, then the darkness is very great, right? But if things around you are dark, yeah, that's terrible. But inside your light, then
well, I took it as the things that you put your eyes to, you either ingest, and then that becomes what's in your soul, and you like. Some people are drawn to certain things and they have an aversion to other things, and that like brings either good or evil into your soul. But then when he said this line, my eyes are filled with so much death, I just thought of, you know, the times, you know, where I've struggled with like suicidal thoughts and stuff like that.
Are you trying to move the cursor with that?
No, I'm just uncomfortable talking about this subject.
Yeah.
So I always do this and make that big thing fat.
Okay.
I think it's funny. So like when
you were dealing with suicidal ideation.
When I'm like that, I say to myself, like, everything becomes about that, and then that would be all that I was seeing. Like, you know, you see that there's an opportunity for that, there's an opportunity. It's like death is just, my eyes are just filled with death, and that's all that I see. And there's no hope in the future, and there's no, you know, so that's how I took it. I'm like, I felt so bad for this person, like, ugh.
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't be drawn to dark things if you were not dark inside. You know, that's when was it John?
Well, yeah, that's the first version of how I pictured it. Like, you're dark inside, and that's why the eyes are the window to the soul. You're taking in more darkness because that's what you're drawn to.
Right.
But with this one, the way that he explained it here, it was like his eyes that are the window to his soul. The reason his soul is so dark that all his eyes will see is darkness. So even something that's meant to be good, you see it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
Blessings become curses.
Yeah. No, that's true. And it works the other way too. Like, if you're filled with light, then all you see is light. So
right.
you know,
right.
You're watching. I don't know if you were listening. These guys were calling out for SAS in England, and you had the same two guys going through pretty much the same thing. I was bullied when I grew up, and then the guy couldn't make it through the selection. The other guy, no father, and he used that to. So if you're a bright-eyed person, you're gonna look at everything as this is terrible. It's true, but there's some silver lining to it. Whereas, you know, Muhammad was great at that. He had these guys that were coming up against him, and then he had these folks from Khaybar who were supposed to come and get their back and help them. And so he sent one of his guys, and Muhammad said, "Look, don't tell anybody. If you go there and and they betray us, then don't tell anybody. Just tell me privately." So the guy shows up, and sure enough, the dudes from Khaybar, not only were they not going to help them, they were marching with the other guys. So that's like a double whammy. So the guy shows up, and then he whispers, "Ya Rasulullah," and then Muhammad goes, "Abshiru, Allahu Akbar, this is great," you know, yada yada yada. Completely demoralizing situation, and then they found a way to
work it to their advantage.
They basically invented on the Arab side trench warfare, and that's how it's called the Battle of the Trench, and so that's how they got out of it. But the point is that he was just like, "Oh, that's fine. We're gonna figure something out." And like, there's some people that I'm not that guy. There's some people. Well, I'm that guy personally. Like, if there's a personal challenge or a personal situation, like, or if it's a team that I'm leading or something like that, like, we're gonna get out. Everybody's coming. Like, we're gonna be fine. But when I just look at like the world or something like that, sometimes I'm like, I'm not as optimistic. There's some people who can be like optimistic 24/7 because they're just bright inside. But I remember those days. I don't have days like this anymore. I have days when I get into deep, you know, sadness about stuff, but it's never like, I know I'm going to get out of it. I just look at the clock and I go, all right, I'm just going to wait this out. I'll be fine in a couple days, like nothing happened. You know, like, I've experienced it so much that I know it's what's coming on the other side. But I had days like that, and I would have been dead. Shout out to my mom. She made the call, got the charcoal in there, and that's all she wrote. So unfortunately for you, Ben Webb, I'm still around. Somebody said something about, posted something on depression or something like that, and it was Tiara. And I messaged, I said, you know, it was about doctors not taking it seriously or whatever. And I said, thank God that I had an RN for a mother because I wouldn't be here. There's like a bunch of laughing emojis on it or whatever. Well, some people genuinely hate your boy. So but you know, no disrespect to those guys. They're probably under a lot of, you know, extreme darkness themselves, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Obviously. I mean, look, man, somebody says something to you local on the internet, like, don't
ingest
Don't
that.
go crazy about it. There's a lot of hurting people, man, and sometimes people use the internet to ventilate that venom. Pray for him. Yeah, so anyway, this guy can write, man. I'll tell you, that's another thing. Okay, with rap, there are definitely intelligent lyricists, right? Like she looked at my necklace, started reacting. Now that's what I call a chain reaction. Like, that's brilliant. Because a chain is another name for a necklace, and the girl started reacting to his chain. You know, brilliant. But as far as like verbosity, as far as like being able to call on different words and then going into different languages, like you put like Danny Filth, you know, against Jay-Z. Jay-Z and Danny Filth are probably at the same level intellectually. It's just Danny Filth is obviously more well-read than Jay-Z. So he can call on a lot of different metaphors and things like that. And I think that that's something like that's particular only to metal in the modern world.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I don't. Obviously, you're not going to get it in pop, and you're not going to get it in rap. You got very intelligent brothers in rap, for sure, and dudes that can write, for sure. But like this level of and there's so many like subliminal sort of reference points that you have to know to understand a lot of this stuff. I just think that's something that's very, very particular to the metal genre, particularly the black metal genre. It seems to me.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
It seems to me the darker the metal is, the more the intelligence rate is, which is something to ponder. It's a very interesting idea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. There you are. Well, I mean, you're a lot more likely to be depressed and upset the more intelligent you are. So that might be part of it. What do you give the song?
9.2.
9.3 myself. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Really good song. It's definitely worth the 11 minutes and gives you a lot of stuff to ponder. I mean, we could have really... This could have been an hour and 45-minute review, but y'all don't want that. So you're probably... out already. If you stay till the end, great. Right. What did we do last time? That was with Behemoth, right? We're like, if you stay till the end.
Put 33 in the comment section.
Yeah.
And then you always say, put 25. After I say a number, you always change it.
Yeah. And then you see these weird numbers. All right, 9.3.
9.2.
Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.